Today I'm testing out the M10 kit from Haida. It's a filter set that has a circular polarizer, a 10-stop, a 6-stop, a 3-stop soft grad, and a reverse grad as well. Now Haida did send me this kit, and I think when doing a review, it's important to hang on to a bit of kit and use it as much as possible. After using it for about 6 months, I understand the pros and the cons of using a filter kit like this. So Haida, if you're watching, really sorry the review has taken so long to do. Now it's really windy today. We've got easterly winds blowing in and they're really gusty as well. Now I'm thinking it'll probably be a nice shot from up here. We've got this sty, nice fence going down. We've got the tree in the background. So this makes for a nice shot. As always, if I'm shooting from a tripod, which I will be using filters, I want to check to see what that position will be first. So I'm not going to get the tripod out and chuck my camera straight on the tripod. I'm going to look through the viewfinder or use the screen on the back until I find the position that I want to put the camera in. Then I'll get the tripod out. I think for this one, I'm going to go quite low and then I'll just have the fence going off into the distance up to the tree. So I'm shooting at 28mm to start with, but I probably will go wider. But I want to see if it'll work at that focal length. Now I'm going to focus just at the edge of the lake. So for this shot, I think I'm just going to go with a 6-stop filter and then a soft grad to bring the sky down. Now, one thing I have noticed in using it over the months is when I first got it, these filters were really hard to slide in. So the rubbers either side were really stiff. Now I've bedded it in, they're a lot easier to move around. So I can move this really quickly and really easily. It holds them firmly, but to start with, it was quite tricky. So at f16, that's taken it down to 8 seconds. I just have to wait for a break in the wind and then take that shot, because that wind will blow this tripod around and give a little bit of blur in that shot. And that is one of the annoying things with doing long exposures. When it's windy, they are really hard to get super sharp. Now this foreground really isn't adding to the shot. In fact, it's really distracting. So I'm gonna go back to this location later in the year and find a better position for this. I know there's a photograph there, this just isn't the best one. So I've taken a shot with a soft grad in and without that soft grad to show you the difference. If you look at the first one where I have the soft grad in, that sky is a lot darker and that's enabled me to bring the brightness of the foreground up quite a bit. In the one where I've just used that 6-stop ND without the soft grad, that sky is really bright, but that means the foreground's darker because the camera has had to compensate, kind of balance out those two different bits. And if you look at the histogram on that one, there's a spike down the bottom and a spike up at the top. Whereas if we look at the histogram of the one with the soft grad in place, it is spread out a little bit because that sky is quite bright, but not as much as if I didn't use the soft grad. Now all of this is pretty much bog standard with any kind of filter system, but the one thing I like about the Haida system is this little bit, and it's a drop-in filter. So if I take this blank plate out, I can then drop in the circular polarizer filter. This is very different to some filter systems that I've used where you have to take the front bit off or you have to take the filters out if you decide you want the circular polarizer. So that's great. I can drop it in, have a look, see what I think. If I don't like it, I can pull it back out easily. So let's have a look, see how that changes the shot. This will basically take some of the reflection away from the water. Now, what you die-hard landscape photographers are probably thinking is, why am I using a long exposure when these reeds are moving around all over the place? What I think I'm going to do is take another shot with a circular polarizer and the grad filter, but without the 6-stop ND. Sod's law, when I do that, the wind drops right off. That's with no polarization or the least amount of polarization. Then this next one's with the most amount of polarization. Flicking between the two, you really do see the difference. I'll put both of them up on the screen now. The other great thing with this kit is because they've built it so thin, it works really well with super wide angle lenses. I've got the 15mm, I'm going to use it with that. Wow, that's a lot wider, so I'm going to flip the camera. Now I'm probably going to have to wait for this sun patch to go through, because otherwise my shadow is going to be in the foreground, especially with that 15mm. I'll get rid of that. So with this super wide 15mm, I'm just going to put a soft grad on. I've got rid of the circular polarizer. I've got rid of the 6-stop filter as well. Also, like with all filter systems like this, you can rotate that front part. So when you do have a grad filter on it, you can angle it to where that brightest part of your image is. Now, one of the problems in using a grad filter, especially some of the hard grads, is that when the horizon isn't flat, we've got mountains or trees or something protruding into the sky, that part of the image will become darker. Here, I've got this mountain just to the left of the frame, and if I keep the grad filter flat, you can see in the image that's a lot darker in that top left-hand corner. And this is one of my annoyances with using filter systems like this. Now that sun is starting to come out. I'm not sure how long it's going to stick around. There are clouds whizzing through, and as you've seen, it's pretty gusty as well. But hopefully I'll get a nice sunny scene to photograph. Just wondering if I can incorporate this into the shot. So I'm thinking from up here somewhere, and hopefully we can get some light coming through the scene as well. Yeah, I think that'll work. Actually glad I kept the 15mm on as well, because I think because of how tall that mountain is, the 15mm will work really well. It's a shame all of the bracken's still dead. Later in the year, this scene would work a lot better. I think here, this will work. Now I'm going to shoot this one full height, because the lower I get, the more of this dead bracken I'll get into the shot. So I'm going to get high, I'm going to tip the camera so it's facing horizontally. So less foreground, more of the derelict hut, the tree and the mountain. And I've lined the tree up so it kind of fits within that mountain. Now I've used a lot of different filter systems, and this one is similar to them, but the really nice thing is that drop-in filter. Using a circular polarizer in this is brilliant, because you can put it in, check it. If you don't like it, you just take it straight back out again. No need to take the filter system apart or take any filters out. You can get NDs and a few other filters as well. And this is what's kind of unique about this filter system. And it's what drew me to it. Now for the price, and this is where it's gonna hurt. The M10 professional filter kit with the 6-stop, the 10-stop, the 3-stop soft grad and the reverse grad with the bracket and with a load of adapters for different filter sizes, a circular polarizer with a bag, that comes in at £756, which is $971 with today's exchange rate. So it's a hefty price to pay. Now, do I think that's worth it? If you're an old school shooter and you like to have an almost finished image on the back of your camera, these filter systems are great, but you just got to know what situation to use them in. If you're a new school shooter and you like to stack your shots and you're not too worried about not getting the finished image on the back of the camera, then it's probably worth saving that money for a decent lens and then bracketing your shots and then stacking them. So then you get the brighter and the darker parts of the image properly exposed over a few different images. But if you are looking for a filter kit, this one is quite expensive, but you get really good quality glass. I couldn't see any color shift at all when I was using the ND filters or the grad filters as well. So I suppose you're paying for quality. Now this kit also comes with a reverse grad filter. You can see there's a dark strip there with quite a hard line, and then it fades off to nothing up at the top. And this is when you've got that sunset and then darker clouds up above it. I can't really use it here because of the topography of the landscape. But say if you were shooting a seascape, the sun was just setting, you had a bright strip, and then it got darker up into the sky, you could use the reverse grad so you don't get that kind of classic beginner look of someone who's just started using a filter where the top of the sky just gets really dark. What I am going to use is the soft grad again. Now you can see the problem, this mountain has gone really dark. If I take it up, you can't really knock the exposure down of that top half. Here's the photo, and you can see the top of the mountain is really dark, and that's from the soft grad dropping the brightness of the whole of the top half of the photo, basically everything above this line. Now if we take that out, now you can see the difference between those. I used one with the soft grad again and one without the soft grad. This mountain is so big that I can't get a good exposure on the sky. It goes up and then back down again in my frame. And this is when exposure blending would be better than using a grad filter. Those light patches are really coming and going. And when there is patchy cloud like it is today, this is the frustrating thing with landscape photography. But also it's the fun thing. It's that waiting around, waiting for that really nice bit of light to come through. And when it does, it's capturing that moment. Now, the only way that you can really know if you need a filter system or not is to try one. What I'd do is start with a cheap system and maybe 1 or 2 filters. And if you really like it, this is when the Haida M10 system would be well worth getting. You will be able to get lots of long exposures, you'll be able to drop the exposure of the sky down, and you'll be able to control the reflections off the water and things like that with the circular polarizer. So it does everything that you'll ever need from a filter kit. Now, if you like this video and want to see more, I do on-location videos all around the UK every week. I take you out with me, I show you how I go about the process, and hopefully you can learn something from that.